There is a very important mystery, a theological mystery, that is disclosed to us on this last Sunday of the liturgical year. And it calls also for a response from us. But it is difficult. The mystery itself is difficult to accept. So sometimes we give a different response. And that mystery is the mystery of death, the mystery of suffering, the mystery of evil in the world. About all this, we have no definite answers. Like we ask, why are these things happening? And when we keep asking these things, you might even become pessimistic, sad, and give up on our life, on the beauty of our life. So it is important to get a proper perspective, and not only a proper perspective, but really understand the message of the readings and the gospel today, so that we may be able to really fully appreciate what it means to honor Christ as King. And I'd like to make it easier, but by making an illustration. I know many of you play or at least know the game of chess. You do. Is there any chess champion here? Anybody? You should be proud. That's a very difficult game. It needs a lot of thinking, you see? But let's try to consider the characters in the chessboard. It's like life. It's like our world. It's a little universe. Let's start with the towers. A chessboard, and when it is laid out for the game, it starts with their proper placements, you know? And of course, you have the tower, the rooks. They are important because they protect. If all of them fall down, you will be in danger. You will be open to attack. I remember seeing one of these medieval towers in southern France. Really a formidable tower. And it's complete with little holes there for archers to be able to aim their arrows inside without getting hit. So it's very protective. It's complete with catapults and platforms where stones can be released. We're talking of medieval wars. So the stones will fall down on the enemy. So a tower protects the kingdom. Let's have other characters. I don't know where to start first. The pawns. There are many of them. Sometimes we think of ourselves, we are like the pawns. They're shaped like little people. They move only one step at a time. They are very vulnerable, you know. They're always eaten by the other officials because they move very slowly, only one step at a time. They couldn't even move to the side, right? Only one step. One step. Then you have two bishops moving diagonally, only diagonally. They can eat the pawns along the way, the enemies, whoever is in their path. Then you have a very powerful very powerful queen. You know the queen? The queen can move diagonally. The queen can also move vertically and horizontally. And because of that, because of these powers of movement, and she can eat everything along the way. Eat, kill everyone along the way. Very powerful queen. If you lose your queen, you're almost done. Unless a little pawn succeeds to go to the line and become a queen. Lest we forget, there are horses. The movement of the horses is really like leaping. They can leap through obstacles. Of course, with just a little leap. But they're formidable because they can, of course, you know well, the game. The game is to check the king. So it's a game of killing everyone in the past and planning very well so that the king will be checked. If you cannot move anymore your king, checkmate. The game is over. The kingdom of chess is different from the kingdom of God. The kingship of the king in chess is totally the opposite of the kingship of the gospel that we proclaim, the kingship of Christ. Look at the king of chess. It does not do anything. If a pawn is checked, the king does not do anything. If a bishop is checked, the king cannot do anything. Even if the queen is checked and eaten, the king will just scamper away. Everybody shepherds the king. Everybody protects and offers one's life for the king. So the king here is just waiting for the end of the game. And the end of the game is the king dies. This is why I'm saying, for those who are chess aficionados, continue your game. It's a beautiful game, a game of life, a game of strategy. But don't put your chess into your love life. So if you have boyfriends who are chess players, I'm just joking, or girlfriends who are chess champions, be careful. They always think about the game. Sometimes you might think they are thinking about you. What are you? Are you a pawn? Are you a bishop? Are you a horse? Are you a queen? And what is the best strategy to win you, to win over you? But the kingdom that we proclaim is not the kingdom of chess. The kingship of Jesus is the exact opposite of the kingship of chess. Because here, right from the first reading, we see that the relationship of the king to the sheep in the prophet Ezekiel is one of shepherding. In other words, we can only imagine that the power of the king in the kingdom of God is all the powers combined of everyone on the chessboard. That king is not immovable. That king is not just waiting for the end. That king has the power of a bishop to move diagonally, the power of a horse to leap across obstacles, the power of the queen to move everywhere, the protective power of towers, and even the humble service of pawns. That is the kingship that we see, like in the prophet Ezekiel. where we are given the picture of a king who shepherds his people, who does not wait for his people to shepherd him. And that is why in the second reading, St. Paul teaches us of our attitude to life and our attitude to Christ. Our attitude to life is when we are faced with the trials and difficulties and problems, and the biggest of them is death. We are not scattered. We do not give up. We do not become pessimistic. We do not abandon ourselves, our families, our community, because we know that, as Paul teaches us in the letter to the Corinthians, the King is alive. The King will not die. Rather, the King has put to death itself, and there is nothing to be afraid. So therefore, we who are followers of that King and his kingship and reign are on a totally opposite spectrum of what I have just described in the game of chess. Here is a king who is everywhere. Here is a king whose reign is about protecting us and not us protecting the king. Here is a king who reigns not only everywhere, meaning in different places, but a king whose reign grows in our hearts, and that we are able to share from our hearts to others. This is why in the gospel, Jesus illustrates to us shepherding, what to be a shepherd means, and that is all of us shepherding one another, especially the needy. May we, who honor Christ our King today, recognize his kingship over us, and it means that we become shepherds after his own heart. Shepherds after the heart of Jesus, compassionate to the hungry and thirsty, to the stranger, to the naked, to the ill, and in prison. And when we do this, the Lord will tell us, "Come, you who are blessed by my Father, inherit the kingdom prepared for you from the foundation of the world."